The Galactic Academy's Xenobiology lecture hall buzzed with the usual pre-class chatter, a symphony of clicks, whistles, and harmonic frequencies that only universal translators could parse into coherent conversation. Susan Chen sat in the back row, her datapad propped against her textbook, trying to ignore the way the Valkyrian student 3 seats over kept his eye stalks pointed in her direction. "Is it true your planet has weather that can kill?" he asked, his translator rendering his curiosity as a mixture of fascination and horror. Susan didn't look up. "Yeah. It's called a tornado. Or a hurricane. Take your pick." The Valkyrian's blue skin rippled with what might have been revulsion. "Barbaric. How did your species ever achieve spaceflight?" "By not dying," Susan replied simply. Evan Matthews, the only other human in the xenobiology program, snorted from the seat beside her. "Suz, you're going to give them nightmares again?" they asked. The incident began, as most problems did, with Zrithkon. The Etherian exchange student had arrived at the academy with the kind of aristocratic arrogance that came from evolving on a planet where the apex predator was a herbivore the size of a house cat. He was tall, nearly 7 feet, with crystalline skin that refracted light into dancing rainbows, and he possessed the unshakable conviction that physical prowess equated to civilizational superiority. He'd challenged Evan to a friendly sparring match during combat training 2 weeks ago. Evan, who'd grown up on Earth's gravity and had spent summers working construction in Texas heat, had politely declined. Zrithkon took it as cowardice. "Deathworlders," he'd sneered loud enough for the whole class to hear. Susan had looked up from her notes then, her dark eyes flat and unreadable. "And what will you do, little human?" Zrithkon's laugh was like wind chimes. "Warn me twice?" "Once," Susan said quietly. The Etherian had laughed again and turned away. That was 3 days ago. Today, Zrithkon arrived at the lab practical with 4 of his friends, all large species from low-gravity, low-danger worlds. They surrounded Evan's workstation while Professor Ki-Xlar was distracted with another student's failed gene sequencer. "Maybe you need help with your assignment," Zrithkon said, his tone dripping with false concern. "Deathworlder reflexes must make delicate work so difficult." Evan's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. His hands remained steady as he pipetted the bioluminescent sample into the analysis tray. "Or perhaps," Zrithkon continued, reaching over Evan's shoulder, "you simply need someone to show you how." His hand never reached the equipment. Susan was there. No one had seen her move. One moment she'd been across the room at her own station. The next, she had Zrithkon's wrist locked in a grip that made his crystalline skin actually crack at the edges. "I warned you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The lab went silent. You're hurting." Zrithkon's bravado evaporated as he tried and failed to pull free. His friends took a step back. "Earth gravity is 1.3 times standard," Susan said conversationally, though her grip didn't loosen. "I've been walking around this station for 6 months, feeling like everything's made of paper. Our barbaric planet has predators that hunt in packs, weather systems that spawn tsunamis, and diseases that wiped out millions before we learned to fight back. We didn't get strong by accident. We got strong because everything else wanted us dead." She shifted her stance slightly. Zrithkon gasped. "We also," Susan continued, "developed something you, high garden world species, never needed. Pattern recognition. Threat assessment. The ability to know when someone's gone from annoying to dangerous." Her eyes flicked to his friends. "When they've gathered their pack." "Oh." 2. Professor Ki-Xlar finally noticed the disturbance, his sensory fronds unfurling in alarm. "What is the meaning?" 17. Zrithkon slipped, Susan said smoothly, releasing his wrist. The Etherian stumbled backward, cradling his arm. "I caught him before he contaminated Evan's samples. Isn't that right?" Evan. Zrithkon stared at her, his rainbow skin flickering with colors that his translator couldn't quite parse into emotions. "Fear. Certainly. Respect. Possibly. Understanding. Definitely. Yes," he managed. Susan nodded once and returned to her station as if nothing had happened. The rest of the semester proceeded without incident. Zrithkon gave both humans a wide berth, and word spread through the Academy's social networks with the speed that only truly important gossip could achieve. The Deathworlders are not to be tested. On graduation day, Evan found Susan on the observation deck, watching Earth rotate slowly in the view screen. A blue marble swirled with white storms that would kill most of their classmates in minutes. "You know," he said, "you could have just reported him to the faculty." Susan shrugged. "I gave him a warning. He didn't listen. I gave him a lesson instead." Quietly. Quietly? Evan laughed. "Suz, you fractured his wrist. Could have been worse. On Earth, we learn early you only get one warning. After that," she smiled slightly, "things end quietly. Or they end loudly." I was being polite. Evan shook his head, but he was smiling too. Below them, their homeworld spun on, beautiful and deadly. The crucible that had forged them into something the galaxy was still learning to understand. Deathworlders didn't need to threaten twice. Once was all it took.